Hey everybody, it's Dr. Sara Gottfried, and I just got finished cooking a meal with Dr. Pedram Shojai. Hey Pedram.
Hi, nice to see you.
Nice to see you. And here's what I wanted to talk about today. I feel like most people want to be healthy. They want to be healthy. They have trouble manifesting. They have trouble finding, the small hinges that swing big doors and help them really step into the grace of being more vital, more healthy, losing weight, getting lean, whatever it is. So I wanted to talk to you today about how you get so much done. You are a master manifester. So what's your secret?
Oh man, well I cheated, right? I went and got secret sauce from Asia and Buddhism and Taoism and all these things that I studied over the years. Really learned how to stop the world before getting into the world. So so we're actually hanging out at Dr. Sara's house. We just both got off a mastermind weekend with a number of health and wellness luminaries. Basically last night we're talking at dinner just about life and how we're getting so much stuff done. And these guys kind of got on me about how many things I got going on at any given point. And when I told them why, they basically said, all right, we got to roll the cameras and talk about this the next day. So here's me getting called out to share some secrets with you guys, because I think that it's really important for people to understand how consciousness works.
Yes.
So that they understand how life can either work or really not work so well, right? And so I was a student of life and consciousness well before I got into, the business world. Like I did the monk thing first.
Yep.
And then became, as an agent of transformation, I got basically told in the Himalayas that my place isn't there. Not because I was causing trouble or anything. Maybe a little.
Although he does that too.
I'm very good at that too. But I wasn't being like bad monk, monk becomes monkey. I was told that my place, because I have an articulate nature, was to bring that back to the world.
Yes.
Right. So then I came from like monkdom and then became the CEO of a medical group and just started layering on more and more stuff when I realized how to interface what I learned up there with the crazy reality we live in down here. Right? It's busy, it's aggressive, it's stressful, it's toxic, it's, keep going, right? And so I had to translate that ancient wisdom into some sort of modern, applicable way of then, I had so many employees in this huge medical thing, and then now I sit on the board of 4 companies, and like, for a monk guy, I'm one of the busiest guys anyone knows. It's
true. I mean, I just want to interject here that I focus on 3 things at a time. Like I've got a 3-project limit. And last night, how many projects did we hear about at the dinner table?
More than I care to admit.
It was way more than 3.
Yeah, I got a lot going on, and I get it done, which is the difference between me and a lot going on and people who go insane because nothing in their life works.
Right. They're like on the treadmill, and they can't get off the treadmill.
Well, then you get the people that's like, oh man, there they go saying that thing again, right? And that thing never happens. And for me, people said that about me maybe 5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and like those same people are like, holy crap, this guy keeps making things happen, right?
Yes.
And so as things keep happening and being effective and successful in my life, people have been kind of calling me out to be like, dude, what do you do? Right? And so here we are, right? And so this is, I think, where we'll kind of open up the kimono, peel back a little bit and share with you guys some of that magic, because I guess in a way it is magic, right? But to me it's not, because I took it for granted because that's what I studied in my 20s. I didn't realize everyone else was busy doing other things and not learning that.
That's beautiful. Okay, so you're going to give us some of the magic. You're going to tee it up for us. Tell us how you manifest so much.
Okay. So the basic principle of manifestation in the traditions that I studied, and I'm talking about monastic traditions of people who would sit on their butts for hours and hours a day and really clear their heads and then see the reality that they either chose to manifest or choose not to manifest a reality and go. There's different pathways, right? But learning about how the mind works, learning about how consciousness works, and having an active role, should you choose to have one, in that, can only happen if you understand how you work. And so it really boils down to two principles. And I mean, obviously it layers and you could get more sophisticated, but this is for our first date, right? Like this is how it boils down, is there's attention and intention. And if you get those two correctly lined up, things start happening in your life, okay? So what we hear about here in the West a lot is willpower, right? If you want it, you'll get it. If there's a will, there's a way. You gotta push, and you can move mountains. And a lot of people are able to do so, right? And make things happen. Now we'll talk about the lack of willpower and why a lot of people never get anything done, because that discipline isn't there. So I know I should eat better, I just don't have it in me to exercise, kind of thing.
Right.
And we'll talk about that on the health side of the equation, because I think that's where a lot of the interventions I've had clinically have helped bringing this stuff forward. Is just like, we just have to build your willpower, and it's like a muscle, right? It's a muscle that you exercise, and if you understand it that way and you build it that way, then you're not always like, oh, I'm a weak-spined person. I just haven't developed that, right?
Yeah, although I would say I agree with everything you've just described. What happens with me with willpower is that I run out. And I've joked with you before, right? That I'm like a model citizen when it comes to eating. For breakfast, for lunch, but come my witching hour, I've picked up the kids from school, it's 4 o'clock, it's 5 o'clock. There's like, willpower has left the building. So I feel like I need something more. I need to up level. I need something more than willpower.
Okay, well, let's talk about what willpower is. Willpower is like a bank account, and you can run out of it. And I think that question is awesome, because you just totally set me up for how I'm going to explain this.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I like to set you up.
You know, it's good. It's I think we've been around each other long enough. But so most people will bank their willpower and use it and spend it. Let's just call it like bars of energy. And if you had 10 bars of willpower and you will yourself, and we talked about this with Alex Jamieson, right? You will yourself to not eat the pie that's been sitting on the counter every single time you walk by it, until you have that weak moment and you're down on the willpower enough where the pie just overwhelms. So the focus on that really diverts you, right? And so we talked about this with Abel James in environmental design. Why the heck is that pie there in the first place, right?
Yes.
To test your willpower.
Remove the enemy.
Remove the enemy, right? So your attention isn't diverted to have to draw off your willpower.
You just said attention, which is one of your 2 points.
She's paying attention.
Ding, ding, ding.
She's paying attention. So this is where the magic really happens, is if we can take all of these windows, that are open in our brain, this scattered vision of reality that is completely out of touch with our ability to do things in time. So if we look at the concept of attention and our focus, and how many windows we all have open in the desktop of our minds, and how we are unrealistic with time in managing of that time. So I'm focused on 50 things I got to do today, and I certainly don't have the time to do all 50 of them, but they've scattered my brain to the point where now I'm putting my willpower into watering too many plants with too little water.
Right.
It taps my vitality, and I don't have the energy, the chi, in order to get done what I've chosen to get done. Right? So it's a two-part thing, right? So everyone's trying to do the willpower thing, but if you can't focus your attention and really get clear on what you're doing when you're doing it, and really, I mean, I do a million things, but I do them one at a time, right? And that's really the secret is, you know, if I'm here doing this with you, I'm not thinking about that thing I forgot to email my wife or any, you know what I mean? Like, if you can stay in the present moment and be authentically real and engaged in that moment, then your attention is where you need it to be. Then it takes a heck of a lot less willpower to push through reality. Like, we'll use all of our chi to kind of push like a boulder uphill, and that's not necessary if you understand how to kind of calm the mind enough to be perceptive of where your energy is being wasted.
This is so good. So this is more than a mindset. You know, I think we talk about mindset, we talk about it in terms of productivity. You're talking about like a whole matrix set, like the whole body is on board with this way of working with chi, with energy. So I really appreciate this. I really appreciate it. And of course, you remind me of my husband with the pushing the rock up the hill, because he feels like Sisyphus all the time. And as you know, it doesn't serve him so well. It doesn't serve me either.
We had a very nice conversation about this last night at dinner, and her husband is a delightful human being who's made more happen for this planet, arguably, than anyone I know, right? Just, he's a green warrior. But he's taken a lot of arrows, and he's exhausted because of it sometimes, because that's what happens when it's all will, and you don't take that time to kind of breathe or drink from infinity, if you will.
Oh, I like it when you talk this way about sipping from infinity. And I gotta put on my doctor hat here and say, when you are just relying on that willpower and you're pushing the rock up the hill, and I must do this and I must do more today, and you've got all those windows open in the dashboard of your mind, there's a way that it just burns out your adrenal glands. Like you're just constantly sort of churning. And what I see when someone comes to the office is that their cortisol is either too high or too low, or some sort of combination of the two. Usually DHEA is low. They're not having that repair process happen, right? They're not getting that deep sleep they need every night. So there's all these ways, kind of the downstream fallout of pushing the rock up the hill and using willpower. And
those are the fragments of broken people that wash up on the beach of our clinics, right? Like, I'm so tired, I'm so exhausted, my hormones don't work, I can't get an erection, I have these headaches, and they all come from our burn rate, right? And I think we talked about this before in another show, but you know, I'm a big advocate of understanding things with metaphors that we can all relate to. So if you look at it in terms of like economics, right? We are all caught up, and maybe we learn from our government, right? We're all caught up in deficit spending.
Yes.
Right?
So true.
I will borrow from tomorrow to get through today, and I just gotta push and push and push. And that leads to a baseline anxiety. And in Chinese medicine, we call it false heat.
False heat.
And it comes up, it's this feeling of unrest that's always there, right? And it could go from like low-grade anxiety to full-blown mania to headaches to, you know, all kinds of things. It leads to hot flashes in Chinese medicine. I mean, there's...
And Western medicine too.
yeah. I mean, she and I come from very different languages, right? In terms of where we originally studied. And the coolest part about this bridge that we're creating is realizing that, you know, there's one reality.
I've got the bridge right here.
She's wearing the bridge. She's wearing the bridge. And I'm just a brand whore. I just have things that say vitality all over them, which is how I roll. So this is kind of the thing, right? So it's like, if you want to be a manifester in life, you got to be chill. Like, I'm a pretty energetic guy.
I would agree with that. Absolutely.
But I am also, people always say, that guy's so mellow. And those two don't go hand in hand normally, right? Because when you think of energy, you think of the crazy person on 6 cups of caffeine that's just kind of like, again, trying to dominate reality with their will, right? They're pushing that thing uphill and they're going to do it. But 3 years from now, they're going to be on the bottom of the hill like this, with the boulder having rolled over them. And that's how we feel every time we say, God, I really need to go to Maui. I really need that vacation.
Right. 3 months later, 3 years later, 6 months later, that's what I see as well. And I also, this is an interesting point, because I think a lot of folks, when they start to hear words like meditation or qigong, or, like these strategies that we have for mind-body balance and connecting mind and body, they start to think, oh, well, I feel like I'd be less productive. Like I'm going to go into this Zen state and I'm not going to be able to get stuff done. But the point here is this man does more in a single day than anyone I know. So that's why we are like wanting the secret sauce.
So we're tapping that because it really is an unfair advantage. But it doesn't come through something that I draw on from the outside. And that's really the secret, is vitality comes from within, peace comes from within, right?
It's an inside job.
It's an inside job, right? And most people are looking for an outside solution to an inside problem.
Yes, and outside in instead of inside out.
And that's the healthcare system. It's almost everything we live in, right? It's like, I need this thing to make me better, instead of finding what makes me happy, what finds my peace from the inside out, and then allows me to be comfortable under my skin, so that wherever I go, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Whatever I do, I'm present, right?
This is good. And so we're going to dive a little deeper into this inside out process that you have. But also with the caveat, you know, I feel like we always say this, and I want to make sure that we're super explicit about it. Sometimes there's a time and a place for the external help. Right?
Absolutely.
So, you know, it's the idea here is that we don't want to put all of our power, like give our power away to the prescription antidepressant when you have, you know, kind of this mild feeling of the world sucks and why am I working so hard? So sometimes you want to meet the antidepressant or the supplement that helps you with your adrenals, but we've got to do our side of the work too. We've got to clean up our side of the street, which is what we're building to here. You're going to tell us how to do it.
Yeah, look, okay, so we both do the doctor thing, okay? And the root of the word doctor in Latin is to teach. And that's really where we lost the script, I think, in the medicine that we're all kind of subjected to, especially in the West, is, you know, hey man, fix me. It's the body shop, not the oil change, right? And so I've put Humpty Dumpty back together again many times, and as have you, because people break, things go wrong, and that's what doctoring is about. What we do here is help you guys not need the body shop and avoid some of these kind of catastrophic things that are really down the road and foreseeable based on very predictable behaviors. And that's where the tragedy is. I mean, look, people get hit by buses, you know, things happen. But eating that pie and diabetes are on the same spectrum, and if you understand that and you change that behavior, then diabetes becomes a lot less likely and probably not even on the radar, because you're doing what your body has always done and thrived without these kind of triggers that pull you off path.
This is so good. This is about being a manifester so that you're not taking that path to diabetes, from pumpkin pie to diabetes. It's about how do you interrupt the patterns, kind of those habitual patterns that we have that make us, you know, sort of snowball into diabetes. Because when you have high stress, when you're like pushing the rock up the hill and you're just like, oh my God, how much longer do I have to push this rock up the hill? When am I going to Maui? Oh my God. Like you're manifesting diabetes. You're driving up your blood sugar with the high cortisol, the stress hormones. It's not good. It's not pretty.
And it's distracting, right? Because I got up this morning and I had told myself that I'm going to exercise, and I told myself I'm going to do these 5 things, and whatever my plan was for the day. And then I had that bowl of cereal with the soy milk and got really cranky half an hour later and needed to drink a coffee, and now I just, I think I need an Advil because this headache came back, and I had all these plans for today, but I couldn't get to them because I was too busy sucking wind, right?
Yes.
Can you relate to that?
And could I have a little ADD medicine too, because I can't focus on anything?
Yeah. So now I need X, Y, and Z in order to get back the functions that I would have naturally had if I hadn't have messed myself up and fallen off the horse, right? And so the baseline of all of it is health, right? And so like, my first movie had nothing to do with any of these esoteric concepts at all, because it's really diet, exercise, sleep, mindset. Get those down, and then you have the baseline economy of something that can generate vitality, so you're not in deficit spending, right? Once you get out of deficit spending, it's like you can't save money and spend it at the same time. right? So once you get out of that deficit spending and start banking vitality, you have the chi, you have the power to drive your manifestation, right? To drive the willpower, and you have the clarity to be able to focus in on what it is that you want to manifest.
So this is a different type of energy. This is different than the pushy, 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 get the rock up the hill no matter what type of energy. It's more of a allowing, receiving, kind of I like that language around the energy economy. So energy economy, it's not like putting Humpty Dumpty back together again. We're actually reconstituting Humpty Dumpty from the inside out.
Yeah, and either having him be doing like backflips on the wall and landing because he's a superhero, like super athlete because he can do that now, or getting him down off that ledge because Humpty Dumpty's not ready to be up there, right? But understanding where you are in the world is a good lesson for Humpty Dumpty.
Are you looking at me? Am I Humpty Dumpty?
You're not Humpty Dumpty. You're not Humpty Dumpty. I have Humpty Dumpty moments, and I'll tell you, man. We just had a kid 2 months ago, and my kryptonite is sleep. Like, I am pretty awesome when I'm sleeping. I can do pretty much anything I put my mind to.
I can vouch for that.
Right. But like, you take that away, and all of a sudden, like, I've had, full disclosure, like, we're both doctors and we're both human, right? And so I've had moments where it's just like, wow, I slept 3 hours last night and I have these million things that I've committed to. And so I've had to look at that in my life and start reshuffling and rebalancing the commitments and the flow of energy based on the amount of water in the bucket.
Yes.
Right? And
yes.
so, and I put on some pregnancy weight with her and I'm not sleeping and that messes me up. So I'm about to go back on a gong, which is this practice I've had for years because it's time. And I'm now wrestling with the sleep beast because that's the one in front of me right now. And so I see it and I engage it because it's an intercept course. If I keep going with this kind of, this degree of throttle, it will break the engine, and I have the wherewithal to understand that, so I adjust my life and my burn rate accordingly so I don't crash.
Okay, wait a minute. So time out. I want to make sure I heard gong, and then I heard about half of what you said afterwards, because I'm like, what's a gong? So I want to understand that. I also, you just sort of threw down that you had some pregnancy sympathetic weight, and it makes me think, well, I have been writing the next book. Like, I can grab a little more here than I would like. I'm not so comfortable with that. So say more. Like, what do you mean you put on some pregnancy weight, sleep's your kryptonite, and what the heck is this gong thing?
So what happens is when you layer on more things than you can address is that we have this tendency to use time as an insulator. I'm going to put this away in time. I'm going to stack it away and say I'm going to get to that later, right? And later doesn't happen unless you slow down to have a catch-up period, right? It's always going to stack up. And we do the same thing with calories, right? And interestingly, we also embed emotions inside, what we call it is damp in Chinese medicine, but you'll embed emotions inside of fat as well. So as you start getting behind on what you need to do in life and you start stacking, you're not moving as much, you're not flowing, your engine isn't going as well, and you start holding calories and storing them because you know better than anyone, cortisol does that.
It sure does.
And so, yeah, for me, I mean, the baby came early and all this kind of stuff, and it's not like my life slowed down, right? Like, life still happens. I know everyone out there can relate. Life doesn't stop for you, right? And so, all of a sudden, baby comes, we have this thing, we're not sleeping, and I'm like, oh, wow. 2 months have gone by, and daddy's put on 15 pounds because literally the time I would get up and go to the gym in the morning, I'm now taking the baby so my wife can sleep.
Right.
So you'll take arrows for your family, but then you have to make up for it somewhere, right? And so it happens to the best of us. Look, here I am, a health and wellness dude, and I've taught thousands of people, but it doesn't make me superhuman. I have to follow the same rules everyone that I work with does, because that's the deal. We all, I'm in one of these too, right? And so...
the bag of bones and cells and muscle and cartilage and all that.
Yeah.
So this is really good. I feel like we talked about this a little bit in New York. Like we had some really interesting conversations, but I didn't get this Gong concept. You know, I sort of think of the reset button. I mean, you and I were both talking about not being quite as lean as we like to be and how we wanted to reset that. Are you saying that your Gong, whatever the heck that is like a reset button?
It is. Okay, so let me explain what a Gong is. So it comes from the same kind of derivative of the word Gong Fu. Like Kung Fu means hard work, right? And so Kung Fu is my thing. Like I've been training in the martial arts my whole life. And so life is hard work. And when you get good at Kung Fu, you get good at life, right? Because nothing could phase you. You're a warrior. And so a Gong is a practice I've been doing for 15, maybe 20 years now. I'm dating myself here. Where it's 100-day period, a dedicated time where you say, I'm going to do this one thing, these 5 things, this protocol every single day for 100 days. And if I miss a day, I got to start over. Okay? And so what it does is it reassembles the fabric of how you see your day and time and gives you the skeletal structure of saying the self-care and the self-love rituals are now your priority, and you assemble your day around it because you've established what your priority is in life and you're going to feed yourself first, right? It's kind of like when the oxygen things fall out in the airplane. Right. You before the baby. And we're always going for the baby, whether the baby is the office, whether the baby is the book I'm writing or whatever. We feed that and starve ourselves, right? So the Gong reorients you to say, okay, what do I need in the next 100 days to get myself from point A to point B? And what I do is with my students now is I say, okay, here's my 30-day goals, my 60-day goals, my 100-day goals, and what do I need to do every single day to get here and keep track of myself and stay accountable, right? So your Gong, at first, everyone's like, okay, so what are my results? The results are not what I'm interested in at first because it takes 90 days to develop a good habit. Right. So your first Gong becomes really about learning to develop habits that are then going to feed. It's like farming, right? You do all this stuff. You dig up, you put in the seeds, you start watering it, and you're not like, it's not going to be an apple tree overnight, right? But you develop that practice and that protocol because what happens is 100 days from now, whether you like it or not, that time is gone. So it's what are you going to do now to really look at the future in a reasonable trajectory to make changes in your life. So everyone's like, oh, 100 days, that's so long, right? But those are the same people that come to me and say, Pedram, how do you get so much done? Right.
Well, this gets back to the manifesting. So you're basically, you're saying that this Gong thing is the way that you manifest so much and the way that you stay out of that wear and tear, you know, push the rock up the hill. Like your Gong is the way that you get back to your innate intelligence.
Yeah. And look at life you have to have a reconciliation between your desires and reality, right? And life is this thing where, like, I'll plan out, okay, and I do this all the time, like, and I catch myself on this because I have an expansive mind. I'll have, we were talking about this the other day, it's like, I'll have 50 really good ideas in a given shower if I could actually write them down fast enough.
Before breakfast,
because my mind is like, I'm a creative mind, right? Now, does it mean I'm going to execute on all 50 of those? Does it mean I have the bandwidth to execute even on 5 of them? Probably not. Right? And so what happens is we kind of get ahead of ourselves and we start jumping into things, not realizing that we've committed to all these other things. Right?
So I'm also hearing discernment.
Big time.
I'm hearing how the Gong helps you with discernment so that you get those 50 ideas, the 50 shiny new objects, and instead of like having the dopamine frat party, you're saying, okay, I'm using my Gong, I'm discerning, I'm on my protocol, I've got these habits that I'm growing and feeding and nurturing over time, like I'm getting connected to those again. I'm hitting the reset button in my language, and then you're using that discernment so that you're really crafting, architecting your day.
Yes, and discernment would fall under if we're looking at this like kind of superstructure of attention, intention, discernment would fall under attention for sure, right? Because attention isn't just what you're focused on, it's what you've chosen to not focus on because of what you're focused on.
Nice.
Right?
I like that.
Because your power, like really the part of our brain that really separates us from the chimps is the prefrontal cortex, which is the negation of impulses, right? And most of us being in the animalistic kind of dopaminergic drive of like daily successes and kind of instant gratification mentality don't get into kind of the forward thinking of saying like, well, if I say yes to this, I'm effectively saying no to these 5 other things, because what I've done is committed myself to something that pulls me away from my family, my other project, my X, Y, and Z. And we're terrible at that. Culturally in the West, we're terrible at that because we're so expansive. And what happened was we got so expansive, we got all the way to the West Coast and we ran out of country, right, in America. And then we just kept going in our brains. That's why all these kids are playing Minecraft, because it keeps going and going, right?
It's true.
And there's no tethering, right? Like the Big Bang was congeal, explode, congeal, like that tendency. So in Chinese medicine, it's so yang, right? And the yin is the balance. So how do you pull in to understand where you want to pull out to is really kind of the esoteric piece of that. But the practical piece is I'm going to look at what I commit to in 100 days. I'm going to put it down on paper, and then I'm going to say, okay, so my 30-day, the things I'm going to have done in 30 days are here. And then I look at that and scratch my head and go, wow, that's really unreasonable.
No.
Usually, right? Yeah. And this is the guy that everyone's like, how the hell do you do it all, right?
Right.
I'll look at what I think I can do in 30 days, and then I'll sit there and go, okay, that needs to go to the 60. That needs to push to 100. And then the 15 things that I'm so excited about get pulled out so that 3 or 4 of them happen in 100 days. And then you got people, really smart people, who are super educated and super accomplished, coming to me, this monkey out of nowhere, going, how the hell do you do all this, right? And so the stuff I brought back from the Himalayas, the stuff I brought back from the temple, is proving to be super applicable in our modern, busy, crazy world, because that's kind of the missing ingredient I'm finding. And it's not like, oh, this is Pedram and this is me. Like, I learned this from ancient people who are way smarter than me, right? I just have I've been tasked with the job of bringing this to you, because I promise you it's a lot more mellow to stay in the Himalayas. It was so easy, it was so peaceful, it was so pretty.
Oh, yeah. And you were sent here to help us manifest. So this gong thing, you had me at gong. I still don't even really know what exactly it is, but I want it. Like, I want it. It sounds really interesting. I know that I need more discernment. I know that I need to get more lean. I sure as hell need to sleep more. I need to be more consistent about taking my omega-3s. Like, I can start to see maybe some of the things that would be on my gong. Am I even using the language correctly?
You are, 100%.
So I want to do this. I want to do it.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey guys, sorry we're back. My microphone was rubbing because I move around too much being the monkey. And so just offline real quickly, we talked about this because Sarah said, hey, look, I want to do a gong. And I was like, really? And so we have an idea because we are both ready for this. And we kind of wanted to share this with you, is that we want to both do a gong. I'm ready to start a new one. She wants to start one for the first time. And so what we want to do is just be raw and authentic with you guys. Like, here we are, health and wellness people who have these huge channels and all this kind of stuff. And there's a lot of kind of lack of authenticity in the universe of health and wellness. Like, I'm going to eat like this in front of you guys, but off camera I'm going to cheat or whatever. And we don't like that, right? And so what we'd like to do is we just kind of like huddled up and agreed that we're both gonna like take our labs, take our biometrics, body fat, and just kind of hang that out there and be like, look at these two humans who might know better, but are also needing to work and get back on track and stay on track. And that's part of the life equation, right? It's nobody's perfect, kind of kicking down information saying, now you imperfect people follow me. It's people trying to help each other and help each other up. So as we kind of hold each other accountable, we're going to share that information with you. And we haven't quite figured out how to do the involvement piece, but we'd like to kind of get you guys to maybe do a gong with us.
I love this. I mean, I think this is so exciting. And I love how you just framed it as leveling the playing field. Because I think so often there's this feeling of, oh, you can't get it together to eat that food. Shame on you. Let's, you know, shower you with food shame and then body shame and then tell you the right way to do it. Instead, what we're saying is, let's give you a hand in the darkness and like, let's do this together. Like we all have stuff that we can do better. And it sounds like this gong thing, whatever it is, I still don't totally understand it, is a great path. Like it's a way to just really kind of clean out your channel, to get clear about your attention and your intention. And just focus on what you most need in the next 100 days.
Look, I've been doing this myself. Here's how this kind of manifested for me is I started doing this. There was a particular Qigong set that some guy taught me that he said, look, here's your gong, right? And you have to do it every day for 100 days to kind of nail it. Day 12, I missed it. Started over.
Day 1 again.
Day 1 again. I went to day 46. Missed it. That's when I started saying, oh, it's fine. I didn't really miss it. And then I realized a deal's a deal. And I blew it. Back to day 1. And then I just finished my gongs now. Because it stuns you into understanding that your attention gets so diverted that you can't focus. I was on a gong during my bachelor party, and I made sure I got my gong in before those guys got a hold of me. You know what I mean?
I can imagine.
And so it's this thing that you kind of, you structure your life around, because then you have an intentional life and you have a focused life. And so people say, okay, I'm going to do a gong and then I'm done. It's like, well, no, I do gongs 2 to 3 times a year. Because it's kind of like navigation, right? Where it's like, if I'm going to set my course, I get my bearings and I go, okay, I want to be here, but my 10-year goal might be there. But that's not how I sail. I don't get in a boat and go straight to Africa, right? I have my points of navigation, so I do them 100 days at a time. And even in those 100 days, I have 30 and 60-day checks. So that way I can keep myself on track and deal with the day-to-day while keeping the big picture in mind.
This is great. And I feel like, you know, you are such a superb manifester. This is your secret sauce, the way that you do it. You also tend to do this on your own, or you do it with a teacher. And I can tell you, as a chick with, you know, kids and a couple books that are coming out, there's something really delightful about being able to do it with other people. Like I know that accountability really works for me when I can leverage accountability, you know, not just my personal commitment or contract to do a gong, but having people around me to support me and then to support other people, because there's accountability in that too, right? The service piece. Like that just is what really works for me. I'm not good at just doing these things on my own, Pedram.
Okay, so let's do our little Mars versus Venus here, right? Or Mars and Venus, which is, you know, I come from like the Kung Fu manifestation universe where people kind of have their discipline and they stick to it. And you're telling me I want Sangha, I want community with this. So let's figure out a way. We're seriously just figuring this out live with you guys. Let's figure out a way
off the cuff
to take this and have our community do it with us so we can all kind of cruise and grow and celebrate this together.
Love it. So we will figure this out. We'll figure it out in the next couple of hours. We'll put it together and then we'll offer it to you so that it's done and it's easy. It's really simple.
Okay, deal. How's that sound? We're going to figure out how to do this, be authentic, and kind of hang our stuff out with you guys. I'm willing to post my labs, you know what I mean? Like that's about as, you're looking in my blood, you know what I mean? Like that's about as raw as we can be, just to be like, look, stuff happens and we are part of this process. Like let's do this, let's be raw humans with the beautiful raw humans that we share in our show, because it's not about us, right? It's about all of us.
True, and it's also not about perfection. You know, what I really love about this gong is that if you mess up, if you miss a day, like you just go back to day one. There's, you know, you're not going to get shamed, but it's part of this process of just really, you know, developing the discernment, figuring out the priorities. You know, when you were talking about the oxygen mask, every time I fly Southwest Airlines, they always come up to me because I'm with a kid and they're like, when the oxygen mask comes down, put it on yourself first. And I just want to roll my eyes because I hear it so much. So I had a little like jaded moment there that I want to own. And so I want to bring that in too, that, you know, we're not talking about you must sit on a cushion for an hour every morning, you know, preferably at 50 degrees. Like, that's not what we're saying. Like, you get to create your own gong, right? You could do push-ups every day. Your gong could be to just eat breakfast. That's not, see, it's not for me or us to impose a gong on you. What I actually have like a toolkit for this, so we'll figure out a way to just like make it part of this thing, is that you take a look at your life, you look at what you think you need, and we have some suggestions for people who are like, I have no idea, right? But then you kind of say, okay, well, this is what I have the bandwidth for, this is what I need, here's my stretch goal, how am I gonna fit this in? And to your point, some of the best lessons in life are in those failures, because you learn how you're maybe being unrealistic. You learn about how you're spreading yourself too thin. You learn how maybe you actually absolutely needed to listen every time someone said put the oxygen mask on you first because the universe was trying to tell you something, but it was pissing you off. Wait, are you looking directly into my soul right now? Because I feel like you're reading all my stuff. I think it's perfect, right? Like, I think that this is like, if you don't mind, like this is like the universe is always telling us things. Yeah. And we're like, oh God, I'm so tired of hearing that. But like metaphorically, that's exactly what you needed to be doing. It is. Right? It's so true. And so it's like, ooh, yeah, good one. I should pay more attention, busted. Right? And yeah, and we get busted all the time, right? Because it's easy to, like, you know, we said this in another one, like Milton Erickson, the founder of hypnotherapy, you know, what's it like putting people in trance all the time? I take people out of their trances, was his answer, right? We all have a tendency to fall asleep, and then 100 days blow by, and our life either hasn't changed, has changed for the worse, we haven't hit our goals, and we wonder why. This is so good. So this is what the gong is. We're going to get out of the trance. Yeah. Because I'm guilty. Daily. A daily ritual of saying, hey, wake up. You said you're going to do this, and this is important to you 23 days ago. Do you want to start over? Or do you want to keep paying attention? So it wakes up your attention and teaches you to focus in on what you said you're going to do so that you have integrity with your thoughts, your words, and your actions. And it also builds the discipline to that muscle that we talked about, the willpower muscle. There it is. Yeah. So at the end of this gong, Sarah's going to look like that. Oh boy. Okay, so we're going to figure this out. We're going to put on our thinking caps. We're going to get this all organized so that it's seamless and easy for people, right? Seamless and easy in terms of what we can present to you, but I will promise you that if you're looking for seamless and easy to change your life, you've been into the false promise of a pill for an ill medicine. If you're looking for a guru to give you enlightenment, you missed it, right? And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna hang our stuff out there, we're gonna do the work, and we're gonna do it with you. But we're asking you to come do the work with us so that you can see how easy it is to liberate yourself with hard work. The ease comes once you've gotten good at life. And when you get good at life, you become a good manifester, and then things start happening for you. If that's what you want, then this is what you need to hear, is that there's a mechanism and it involves you. We're not doing this for you, but we're willing to do this with you. Love it. Totally love it. So I like this point. I just want to enunciate this point. Yeah. The seamless and easy is part of your story with manifesting. But even within that seamless and easy feeling that you have about your work life and your family life and your time with your friends, there's this structure, the gong, that you do 2 to 3 times a year. Which makes it look seamless and easy. When you look at a master martial artist and they're doing a move that they have practiced 3,000 times at different velocities, different sides, different angles, and then they make it look so seamless and easy, it's actually from thousands of hours of practice, right? Right.
That's what makes life seamless and easy, right? But if you don't get good at it, you'll always wonder why you can't get there without taking the steps. So, and this is where I take a fundamental issue with how our culture is set up, is instant gratification, make it easy, or I don't want to do it. And then I'm going to complain about my life not working, getting overweight, and not having anything work out, and wonder why none of these self-help gurus that are promising stuff that don't work can help me.
This is great. This is totally great. Okay, so 100-day Gong.
100-day Gong. We'll sit down in the next couple hours, couple days. I got to catch a plane soon, and see if we can figure this out in a way that will be seamless and easy to join us. And then we'll work with you to do this with us, and then we'll share our experiences as we go along throughout the show and whenever we get to hang out. Deal?
Deal.
We'll see you soon.
Bye, everybody.